Good? Ron? All right. I'm here.
I forgot
How is it? How is it?
It's good. It's really good.
Tea.
Cheers. Thank you,
Cheers.
Professor.
There you go. Boom. Matcha Performance Tea.
Gotta get the
Shout out
acai
to
jungle in there,
Phil
too.
McGreese out of Philadelphia Balance MMA. Old school American Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
And who's he under?
He's under Helson Gracie.
Okay.
There was a guy named is it Steve Maxwell, just old school Philadelphia.
I know the name Steve Maxwell.
Yeah. He did like the kettlebells, but he was one of the early guys to teach jiu-jitsu in Philadelphia as well.
Okay.
So we just had a class, and you just got promoted to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Thank you very much, Professor. Appreciate it, sir. It's been a journey, and it's my honor and privilege to have a black belt under you. And I would love for you to sign this for me as well, if you would not mind, sir.
Honor and privilege is all mine, really.
Which way does this hang? Boom. So yeah, the front. I think that's the front.
There we go. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
There we go.
It was unexpected.
It wasn't. I was not planning on it either.
Me either. Well, thank you, sir. What was
Ricky or the manager? He was like, "Oh, yeah, I wish you would have told me." I was like, "Oh, well, I wasn't planning on it."
Okay. I thought maybe a stripe on the brown belt, but the black belt had me choked up. Thank you very much. It's to come from you and your beautiful academy and your students and the energy and the culture that you have here is truly amazing, and it's a blessing, and it's a great representation of what martial arts is about. So you are needed in this world, and what you're doing, I'm proud to be a part of it. So thank you, Professor.
Thank you, brother.
You're awesome,
Thank
sir.
you. It's an honor. Honor's mine.
Thank you, sir.
And I couldn't, when you were training and stuff, you're training with a bunch of the black belts, and I was just thinking about just all the years, right, of knowing you and just all the situations. I was talking, it was from the shows that they used to have at was it Greystone?
Oh yeah, the Greystone Castle.
Greystone Castle.
Yeah. Sven Bean is the promoter.
Yeah,
he was one of the early guys. Mm-hmm.
And watching it come out with like 30 different belts.
That's right. All my kickboxing belts. Yeah.
To the cage. I think that was a Gladiator Challenge cage, right?
Yeah, Gladiator Challenge went there, and they did a co-promotion with Sven, who ran the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
So it's been many years, and it's been a lot of lessons, I should say.
Yeah. Back in the early days, what was it was before King of the Cage. It was like the pre-King of the Cage, but the first one was with Boss Rutten in Colorado.
Right. Yeah. So the Boss Rutten Invitational.
That's what it was called, right?
It started off as the Lone Wolf Invitational, and then the promoter they were actually a UFC affiliate somehow when John Peretti was the matchmaker.
John Peretti, yeah.
And they got a hold of Sensei Boss somehow, and he came out to be a special guest. And he was such a personality that the next show, they renamed it from the Lone Wolf Invitational to the Boss Rutten Invitational. And a lot of people came through there. Jens Pulver, Heath Herring, Chris Brennan, Nate Marquardt, Ease Edwards fought in there, Modi Horenstein, Pat Smith, a lot of people. Joe Stevenson came through there as well. A lot of people came through that circuit.
Yeah. When was the first jiu-jitsu or grappling class that you did?
I was 18 or 19, so it's been a while. I think one of the early solidified schools in Colorado, though, was Boulder Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Amal Easton. Now it's Easton Training Center. And one of my main coaches through that facility was Elliot Marshall. But trained with, I wish I could remember his name. Is it David Ruiz, who was under?
Yes, David Ruiz. That's right. Yes, he was a Machado student.
Machado's.
Yeah.
Yep. So he was one of the first legitimate jiu-jitsu guys. Also Shane Pitts.
Shane Pitts,
who worked with Pat Smith in the early, I think, UFC 1 and 2. And I'm not quite sure where he learned from, but those are my early beginnings. And obviously with Sensei Boss when he came out, because during the show, the next day, the shows were always on Saturday, and then on Sunday he'd run a seminar. So I'd always do a seminar, so I did jiu-jitsu with him, but precursor to that, I was still rolling as we were all just kind of rolling and trying to figure stuff out as the times were in the 90s. So it's been a journey, very rewarding. Don't want to jump into this too deep, but we talked about earlier as far as the true name of things and their definitions, because like going back to what Masuyama, who created Kyokushin, and Kyokushin means the ultimate truth. And he came from Shotokan. Shotokan means, Shoto is pine and kan just means building. So it's like pine building or pine house. But they focused on, with Gincho Funakoshi, focused on the katas and the forms. But his student, Masuyama, wanted to have a bit more contact. So they started having fights, but not face punching, like body punching, no elbows, no grappling. But with those fights, once you actually submit your soul and your spirit against somebody else's will, soul, and spirit, then you find out what you're truly made of, which hence Kyokushin means the ultimate truth. I wish I could have been had the opportunity to sit and talk with Masuyama and ask him exactly why he called his style karate the ultimate truth, because rule set wise, it's not the ultimate truth. And what I'm circling back to this as far as jiu-jitsu is the ultimate truth, because there's no lying on the mats, and you could do it 100% full bore on the mat every day and find out exactly what you're made of, what they're made of, and what the ultimate truth is. With most striking scenarios, so striking arts, even including Bang Muay Thai, with all the drills and such, unless you're actually fully expressing yourself in combat, you don't know exactly where you stand.
Yeah.
And with it, but I don't want to have no brain trauma or injuries either, right? So as far as all the martial arts, jiu-jitsu is the ultimate truth. So again, it's an honor and a privilege to be promoted to black belt under you with your lineage and history and knowledge and what you've done in the jiu-jitsu world and the mixed martial arts world. But aside from the competitive aspect, what you've built here at Legacy Jiu-Jitsu with your students and the culture is one of the most impressive things that I've seen. I've been to a lot of schools, and I love what you built here. Like, if you're not proud, and I think you are, you should be. It's like this place is a
thank you.
This place is a healing center for many people, and it's doing what we all should be doing, is making this world a better place, and it's through the vehicle of martial arts. But we jumped around quite a bit, sorry, my brain, so it's always all over. But again, rolling since as a teenager, and now to finally earn a black belt under you is an honor and a privilege. So thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my legacy, I guess, is legacy.
Yeah,
right?
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's my contribution, right? Giving back through all the experiences and all those things, and being able to create a place, right, for everybody to be the best version of themselves.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly what you've built, and it's the energy that's here. The talks you hear off to the side, the culture, it's what the world's about. There's no race, religion, nothing. It's just everyone's one. And like, that's the ultimate goal. So good job, sir. Good job. Yes, sir. You're blessed.
Man, going back to some of the history, right? Then you started. I think, what was the first MMA fight you did?
I went to my buddy's school, Tommy Johnson, and I went to just go watch. And he was having basically a smoker, and he asked, I don't know if he asked the crowd, if he asked me personally, if anyone wants to fight. And I was like, well, I might as well give it a shot. And he said it was mixed martial arts or MMA. I think we called it Vale Tudo or NHB at the time.
Right.
I was like, sure, why not? So that was my first actual in a ring MMA fight.
Okay.
I was able to knock the guy out in the first minute. He took me down. I was able to sweep him somehow. I think I did a butterfly sweep just naturally. I was able to get up and then knocked him out with the jab. I remember that. But it was like a week or two before my first King in the Cage fight, actually, which was my first actual
the famous one where you
no. Well, I did
Chad Smith, right?
Before that, it was a guy named David Ibarra, who was out of Millennia Jiu-Jitsu. So I was able to head kick, knock him out. Well, he didn't go out cold, but he went down and the ref stopped it. And actually went down and he waved his hand like he didn't want any more. And I was like, thank God, because I want the fight to be over as well. But yeah, my first fight was this. I showed up just to watch some fights, and they asked me if I wanted to fight, and I said, well, why not? It's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, I think that Pancration grappling tournament that they did in Colorado.
Yes, yeah.
I think it was something like that. That's how I ended up competing, because I had that King of the Cage title fight, and you were one of the judges or ref. I don't know, not ref, but you were a judge, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, hey, I just saw you on last week.
Did you just fight last week?
And that was a big fight, right? It was a pay-per-view. It was a big event, in those days. And I think I went to go visit a mall or something, in Colorado. And then they had a Pancration tournament. I was like, oh, I'll do it. Or something like that. I don't know what happened.
That's what we did back then, right? No camps, nothing. You just
always ready, right?
Always ready, yes. Yeah. I was like, didn't you just fight last week? I was like, I like this guy. guy's got the martial arts spirit. And then you win, and I was like, yeah. So what we're supposed to do?
And there were some tough guys there. There were some tough wrestlers. I remember. They were, like, control my wrists, and I was like, man, I had to really figure it out. You know?
Yeah, and you did. You did, sir. You figured it out. That was one of the impressive things about your career, your mixed martial arts careers. You had many submission wins, but there were various submissions. You know, it's not like you were just a one-trick pony. Arm bars, triangles, head and arm, ankle locks. It's like you did everything, like literally everything. It's like super cool.
You pointed that out to me. I never thought about it. You know? Yeah. But yeah, actually, 15 wins, 14 submissions, and all different ones.
Yeah, it's like who does that? Not that many people.
Yeah, I think I maybe subconsciously, I started fighting because I wanted to represent jiu-jitsu in a way. I never thought I would fight because I didn't think I was going to fight. And it was Vale-Tudo days, right? But then I never thought I was going to fight in the cage, and it's kind of crazy, right? And then I wanted to represent jiu-jitsu, and it started like that. And then 1, 2, King of the Cage title, right? Yep. And then they were asking me to fight in different spots, like Japan, right? And then just kept going, right?
See, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And I
guess
that's subconsciously,
true martial artist.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
No, it's just traveling the world, expressing martial arts at its high level in the competition form with as minimal rules as possible. Like, you're one of the true pioneers that actually walked the path and did it. You know, when there was no money and no fame, because in your soul and your spirit, right? So now there's obviously fame and money, and kudos to everyone who's doing it now. But back then it was a truer spirit. There's no hidden motivations other than searching the truth. Like again, Kyokushin, the ultimate truth. Like that was what we were all trying to do.
Yeah. Well said. From now, like there's gi, no gi, right? And then MMA jiu-jitsu, right, as well. So different rule sets now, but back in the day it was, gi, no gi later on, and then Vale-Tudo or MMA jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. Which is different.
Yes, yeah, definitely different. And that's one of the things that I try to focus on with my students is emphasizing for them the self-defense aspect, whether it be in an actual street fight or MMA, is to be on top, and not to play the bottom game too much, but there's obviously opportunities and possibilities from the bottom, but to be on top. And because back in the day when you're fighting the wrestlers, you don't want them on top of you punching you, right? So you want to get them on their back, and
that's right.
Hopefully you have top position, get some ground and pound.
And a lot of people don't have that experience, right? Of being in like fights and fighting different styles, right? As well. And so you know what? Hey, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in these spots, right? These aren't good positions in a fight. You know what's interesting? I always go back to it, but the IBJJF, which is like the federation for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with the biggest organization, right? And their goal is to have it be like a real fight. That's their goal. They never want to lose that. The thing is with MMA, it changes it with. And when I say MMA with the glove, right, and the rule set, it changes. It's not Vale-Tudo. You know what I mean? I think they should define that more. I guess, because people think of fighting as MMA, and for sure it is, but with Vale-Tudo, if I take your back and I throw an elbow to the back of your head, you're opening up that neck, right?
Yeah, definitely.
If not the first time, the second time, for sure.
I was rolling with one of your black belts today, and I had his back. I think he let me get his back, by the way. And then I was trying to sink him the choke, but he wasn't going for it. So I said, is that a bird in the rafters? And he goes, huh? And then he's, so I was trying to use some sneaky techniques there, but he wasn't falling for it. But as far as less rules, the better, as far as finding the ultimate truth. Yeah. And but we go back to the IBJJF, you said they're trying to pursue the
keep that, like they don't want it to become an Olympic sport. They want it to become. They want it to stay true to like the martial art. It should be effective in a fight, right? Like that. So I always feel like that's interesting, and that's in a way that's good, right? Yeah. Because you want to dominate, you want to control, you want to have it be realistic, right? Like the ultimate truth.
Yeah.
Of course, things go a little bit sideways because of rule sets and advantages, and people try to win. So maybe that gets away a little bit of it, But I think it's cool that they say that that's their goal, is to keep the essence of the truth, right? Yeah. In the federation, compared to other things like for example the Abu Dhabi Federation, which they're investing a lot into the sport, into jiu-jitsu, but their goal is to have it become an Olympic sport.
Okay.
And I think they go back to judo. Jigoro Kano's dream was to make it an Olympic sport. And it kind of turned into a spectator friendly thing, right? Focusing on throwing. Whereas the old school judo was very much like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're doing like X-guard. They're doing like different, like the things that they do today, right?
Yeah.
And they were on the ground a lot, depending on the style, right? Of course, just like Jiu-Jitsu now. But yeah, they went away from that. They went into like a spectator friendly Olympic thing, and of course, there's politics as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting actually. But maybe making different categories, maybe if it's safe to call it that, and to pull in a wider array of people. Gi, no gi, maybe slightly changing the rules, and then to see in that category again what's the best scenario. But if you are going to label it as a fight, as minimal rules as possible, but then you pull in what's the arena, what's the cage, what's the ring, what's the format, what's the mat itself. So I didn't know that they followed the path that they were trying to pursue the truth of an actual fight. And then where do you draw the line for that? That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, there's different rule sets, and then you tweak how you compete to win in those rule sets, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So like the goal is to win, right? But even if you lose, you kind of can win sometimes too, right?
Yes.
Depending on how you compete and fight, right? So I think it's always like it's a balance, right? Delicate.
Yes.
It's a fine line.
I don't know if I asked you this on our last podcast or not, but if you don't mind, let me ask you again. What would your definition of a martial artist be?
Definition of a martial artist, I think somebody that surrenders, like a true martial artist, somebody that surrenders to, the process, right? Of, who has surrendered their life, pretty much given their life to the martial arts, like yourself. And I think from, competing and all that fighting to giving back, teaching, mentoring,
Yes. Giving back, teaching.
In different, I think it's in different capacities as you get a little bit older, right? So I think that's for sure somebody that's like, for me, a martial artist.
Yes,
but I think
agreed.
it's, taking a step back from that, like your mindset, how you approach things. I think martial arts is a tool for personal development, and it's a way for you to reach your potential, and live your best life.
Yes, nice. I like it.
I think part of living your best life is helping others, right? Reach theirs, and it's, you give, but you receive too, right? At the same time.
Yeah. So doing to others as you want done unto you, right? That's the golden rule. How about like I don't know if I talked about this again on the last podcast as well, but the levels of black belts as far as like a black belt student, black belt instructor, and a black belt competitor. What are your thoughts on that aspect, on those three?
Right. It's like I think I spoke to you a little bit about it. Like what is your intention? What is your goal with your black belt, right? And I think when you're younger, like that's your life, is to win tournaments and compete and be the best in that. And you have to be very selfish, I think, when you're younger, right?
Yeah.
You can understand that. And then was it the
black belt student, and then an
instructor, right?
So then the competitor. So as far as like the years, probably earlier in the years.
Competitor, instructor, and students, black belt students, and instructor. Okay. So black belt student, I think, I don't know, if you're just, you're a black belt student in the gym and you're not really teaching full time, I think you're still a training partner for people.
Yes.
So I think it's giving back, it's giving back, even if you're just a student. I mean, you're not just a student, you're an example, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You're an example, and they're gonna, you're gonna give it a good representation or not.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Good call.
So I think maybe you're not the most athletic, toughest guy on the mat, but even if you're not, you still can have the mindset. You can still do the right things character-wise, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I think those things kind of go hand in hand with the instructor aspect, because what's your perception on as far as black belt instructor?
Yeah, black belt instructor, I think you give, right? You give and you invest in people and you give yourself fully. You commit, right? You go all in on,
all in,
being, whatever you do. If you're a competitor, that's it's my thoughts, right? Is you give your best to be your best, right? And I think later on, as you become your student, okay, so you're not a full competitor, but this helps you be a better dad, it helps you be better at work, helps you be a better person. I think that's what I would look on a general sense for a student, and then for a professor or a teacher, I think you commit to giving back, and I think it helps to have that background of competing or fighting, because you have that experience of going into the heat, going to hell.
What's your take on instructors that haven't competed? So I did a podcast not long ago, and one of the questions were, as far as my competitive background, how that helps me influence, I guess the next generation versus someone who may have not competed, but they're still producing talent and athletes and helping them.
I mean, man, let's look at Greg Jackson, right? Greg Jackson, who's like yourself, you're voted MMA Coach of the Year worldwide, right? Multiple times. And Greg Jackson, I remember back in the day when I started training with him in New Mexico, and he was MMA, Coach of the Year many years as well, right. And built every weight category champions, right? Pretty much. I asked him early on before that happened, right? What is your goal? And he's like, I just want to be known as the best coach out there.
Oh, interesting.
And I think he looked up to Pat Miletich, right? Was early on. Coach, of champions, right?
Yeah.
And he did it later on, right? He did it later on. He followed through. But his background is he didn't compete. He didn't fight. Yeah. So who is he? And I think at the beginning it didn't give him credibility, but he had some really good guys. And of course, Greg is good, great grappler, and knows his stuff. But he's like, no, I'm committing to being the coach, right? So I think that's an example of it working, right?
Yeah.
So who am I to say you have to compete to be the best coach?
Yeah, good point.
I think either way you have to commit fully to to bringing out the best in your students.
When I was asked that question, I think similar response. It's but I think it's making sure that the ego's in check, to not force your own perceptions onto somebody, but to use your history and hopefully knowledge to help meet the student at their level and help them grow and allow them to be, again, like you said, the best version of themselves. So again, meeting them at their level and hopefully giving them the next piece of the puzzle to put the picture together so they can reach their potential. So that's always an interesting thing for me as far as having students earn rank. It's like they need to do X, Y, Z in the system, but along X, Y, Z, they need to pick and choose certain pieces to make their own, so that then when they compete or roll or perform, they're able to flow in their own little flow state. But then when it comes time for them to test and know the knowledge, then to know, again, X, Y, Z, so that they have different perceptions to meet the next student at their level, and then share and perpetuate the knowledge to grow and continue to have a service back to the world. So great examples with Greg, actually.
Yeah, I think too, right? Like you being a great competitor, a champion, can get in the way of you being a great coach, right? Because of your own ego, you have such a big ego, like you're trying to almost compete with your students. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that I flip it back to you. Like how did you deal with that? Like you being a champion and you winning all your things, and then being able to flip that switch and become a coach.
I think I was blessed in the position to know what I was supposed to do. Like, what was my goal? Was my goal to put the spotlight on myself or the student? And if the spotlight is on the student, well, then what's, again, their next piece of the puzzle to help them grow? So I think I'm pretty good at reading body movement and then tracking their progression and giving them the next piece of the puzzle for them to grow, and not so much for me to show myself through them. And I never wanted to be Coach of the Year. And it's interesting to hear you say that about
Greg Jackson, right?
Because I spoke with Coach Trevor Whitman as well, and he said the same thing. He wanted to be Coach of the Year. I found that interesting because that was never my pursuit.
I mean, they never had that right before.
Yeah.
Like a thing, awards like that, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. They had somewhat new with the last, probably 12, 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
But to hear that Greg that was one of his goals, and that was one of Trevor Whitman's goals, but that was never my goal. But I knew that getting my students, or the people who I was blessed to be able to cross paths with and help them become the best version of themselves.
I think that's the difference, right? Trevor was never like he was that. What's Trevor's background?
I don't know his boxing primarily, and he's told me a funny story I'll share with you off air. But he's awesome. But he's a great example of finding, because I'm sure you've noticed this as well, but when you're competing, sometimes you do things that you're not unaware of because you're in the flow state, right?
Right.
So it takes an outside set of perspective to analyze what's taking place during your flow state, and then remind you either at that time or later, or pull whatever you did real time back on the mats to hopefully water that, grow that, and then go back on the mat to execute it. And I think that's one thing that Trevor's good at, and then I was able to be good at, is resonate or find out what they're doing subconsciously, pull it back into the conscious, and then download it back into the subconscious. So that was happening more often, because that was where their natural flow state was, right? So I think that's one thing that Trevor's really good at, is seeing what people naturally do and just reminding them of it. And I think that's what a good parent, student, coach, sensei, professor should do, is again, meet the student at their level and help them grow. Because like when TJ would be sparring, like, what did you just do? And he's like, I don't know, because you're unaware, you're present, right? So if you're paying attention to what you're doing, then you're not actually present. So like there's a slight time delay. Just like, and I got this years ago when I took my permit test for a driving permit. Visually, the SIPD, you scan, identify, predict, decide, execute. So all those things are happening in a split second. But that's registering something that's happening and then reacting to that. And martial arts and life, you almost need to be in the movement of it, which is the art, the flow state, and be present in the movement of it. And then sometimes you can be somewhat aware of what the opponent is going to do before he even does it. Because and sometimes, I swear, sparring and fights, you can make them do certain things without them even knowing it. Like the whole monkey see, monkey do mirroring aspect. You give somebody a low kick, they're going to low kick you back. So you can literally control the opponent sometimes. But again, if you think about it, it's too long, it's too late. So you just have to be, again, present in the moment. But it's a weird balance of being there but not being there. So I'm not quite sure where the mind or the spirit. So I tell this dude, shut the brain off and let the spirit guide the body. And that's an important thing to do. But then to remind people what they did subconsciously and then pull it back in the conscious, drill the heck out of it so it becomes quote unquote second nature, which refers back to what Bruce Lee said. He feared the man that practiced one kick 10,000 times rather than the man that practiced 10,000 kicks once. But what's interesting about that is your record of pulling off various submissions. So that just shows like the level that you were able to reach of just being, a master of jiu-jitsu when the rules were at their thinnest and perform various submissions. Like that's ninja. Like that's super ninja.
Thanks, man, yeah.
It really is, right? Because you're able to perform so many things at the highest level.
Certain ways, right? I wasn't planning I'm going to get, all these different submissions.
Yeah, but sometimes you plan, then it doesn't work out because you're too focused on that, and then you forget what's happening in the flow state. So it's just another, what is it, notch in the belt of you being present in the movements in again the flow state, and having so many tools to finish the fight is super impressive.
Yeah. What was the thing I lost my train of thought?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. What you were talking about when the thing I liked about the
Trevor. Sorry, I jumped.
Yeah, was Trevor.
Well, he's good at registering what people do in their flow state.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
like just guiding, like as a coach, you try, one size fits all, right? Even for curriculums and stuff. Like you show them many different things. But then they find their own game, right?
Yes.
They find their own game, and you being a high level coach, right? People have what they're really good at, right? And then you know all these things. Okay, this is your jam right here. This is where you're gonna stay. This is, you're gonna build off of this or whatever. So you guide them, right? That's where that the coach comes in, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the calm, cool perspective, outside perspective.
Outside perspective.
And it just depends like what knowledge, those eyes that are looking at you, guiding you. What's the trust factor there? How much is their ego getting in play? What's your actual duty is to help them grow in which direction? So that takes a rare
just guide them, right? Rather than you doing you giving them every single command, but then guide, like being like a guide, right?
Yep. the power of suggestion, right? So it's been interesting too, as far as comparing my career with TJ's career. There's been multiple times I told TJ to do very specific things. He does it and he wins. Like sometimes I'm like, wow. You know, sometimes every time it's just crazy. And we've had that happen many times. I ask him to do something.
I remember talking to you like, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. There's just
like you just knew what.
There's patterns that take place. You know, you're in this position. There's X, Y, Z that can happen. And I don't know. I'm a martial art nerd. I've been blessed with whatever it is to study body movement and to know what's going to happen based off these stressors and scenarios, right? And presenting these opportunities for people, opportunity for them to catch a kick in the head, obviously. But then having such a willing, committed athlete as well was a true blessing with TJ and many people over the years. But TJ was obviously the prime example. You know, without him, I wouldn't have been able to understand the martial arts at the level that I feel I understand it at, because he was just basically, a video game for me to hopefully, again, not let my ego get involved, but to let that character fully develop. So it was a blessed time in martial art history.
Yeah, yeah. When did you know that you were done with fighting?
Actually, when since I was at the age 15, I made a promise that I would win a world title.
At age 15?
15. I know, so I made a promise to win a world title in kickboxing. I didn't want to do mixed martial arts at the time. Yeah. So I was like, these guys are crazy. So my first world title that I won was actually mixed martial arts world title. And when I won that, I didn't feel complete. I was like, well, that's not what I said I was going to do. I'm a very black and white person. So once I won my kickboxing world title, then I felt a big weight lift off my shoulders, which was in 2004. I just felt like I was done, completed. And then a big chunk of motivation left. So at that point, I was done like with my competitive spark. But at that point, I was in a weird spot. Like I didn't want to go back to doing a regular job. I love martial arts, so I just was fighting for money. And if you look at the results of my record, it was like a lot of wins, maybe a loss, a lot of wins, maybe a loss. After I won my kickboxing world title, my record went up, down, up, down, up, down, just because of lack of motivation or lack of discipline, whichever you want to look at it. But once that happened, I was just fighting for money, to be honest, and not to get a regular job. I'm not opposed to working. I like to work with my hands and be an electrician. But once my last fight took place, where I blew my knee out, or my knee got blown out on an outside trip, I really couldn't fight anymore. It was 6-month recovery, and blessings and thank you to Dana White and the UFC, because they gave me a good chunk of money to get me by those 6 months of recovery, which was they did not have to do. So I was very thankful for that. But actually, no. Let me back up. So I broke my ankle in a fight, in a UFC fight, and at that time, they gave me a chunk of money to get better, like to, recover. Yeah. So then I did, I think 1 or 2 more fights, and then the second, or maybe 2 or 3 more fights. And my last fight, my knee got blown out. That time, I walked away with like $12,000, a blown out knee, and I honestly did expect them to give me something, but that wasn't in the paperwork, right? And they didn't, so it was a bit heartbreaking. I think if one of my employees got hurt on the job, I would have taken care of them a bit better. But it was a $12,000 goodbye and a call from Dana saying, you should retire, kid. And I probably should have retired, but it's like, yeah, with what, $12,000? Like, how are you going to retire? So at that point, when I received my last injury, blown out my knee, that's when I knew I was like, I didn't want to just, like I was done with it. I was actually done with it way earlier when I won my kickboxing world title. But that one, it was just like, forget this. The low money, and it's not about the money, it's about the passion, the purpose. But
no, for sure.
All
but
the passion, the purpose
stress,
left.
Right? Stress, yeah.
When at the time I had, I was married, had 1 child, I had 2 child. My twin bang was born. So he was probably 2 years old, and it was just like, what am I doing? Like life's not about me. It's about my, praising the Lord, take care of my family, and I got to, figure out something other than the selfish journey of martial arts, because at that time, again, the money was it was silly. It didn't make sense, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, but it was never about the money.
That was actually, that's a really good point, because like, when did you know you're gonna go the distance? Like, right, we've been kind of now all these years, right, dedicated to martial arts, and I would have had a day job if I couldn't do this, because I really believe in it. But like, it was tough, man. There was no it was hard to make a living, back. But now because of the UFC and just how big everything's gotten, it's different, right? It's a different game now.
Yeah. So now we're blessed to be in the position to help out, give back, uplift, and inspire with the tool utility of martial arts. Because now we can actually make a living off of this, right? But back then it was just tricky to be able to make things happen. But one thing I knew as a kid, that I'd be a world champion and have my own dojo, my own school. So I knew that was going to happen. For some reason, I just felt it in my soul, and I just really pursued after that, and it was able to happen. So thank you, Lord. Put a lot of years in studying and traveling around the world and competing and meeting great people and learning from everybody, right? So hopefully in sharing as well. If the relationship's not a win-win, then it's not going to continue. So making sure you're giving back and not just taking. So it's got to be a revolving door. But I knew I was done fighting after I blew up my knee. I was like, forget this. I'm done with this, So actually, he took me down. It was against Che Mills. He did an outside trip, blew up my left knee, and then I'm in the guard, and I went to go for a triangle because I still had my one knee was still good, so I think I could still lock up the triangle. He postured out, and I was like, man, I'm done with this. Forget this. I'm out of here. So I got a wife, I got 2 kids. This is bull crap, but.
There's better ways, easier ways.
Yeah.
There's other ways.
Yeah, there's other ways. But now, blessing that, the UFC put so much time, effort, money and resources, and all the people who've paved the way up to that point well.
For sure.
It's a win-win situation. They obviously put a lot of money and time and effort into it as a promotion, and so did every fighter leading up to it. But now it's at a point where people can make more than a comfortable living, and instructors can run a school and teach jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, and have something to help people become disciplined, in shape, positive community, goal-setted. We're goal-setted. We're goal-oriented people. You have preschool, elementary, middle school, high school, college. You have raises. You have positions.
Yeah.
Just how it is. So that's just making sure that the students, you have a clear criteria for the students to keep them in line with goals and earning their goals and their ranks, so that they know it's not just handed to them. Because with so much digital stuff these days, everyone just wants to sit around, eat chips, and watch a video, which sounds fun sometimes. Maybe people are going to do that with this, right, with the podcast. But you got to get off your butt and move, because motion is medicine, right? And you need the community as well, and the achievement award, and stay on the path and become something of yourself, and not just want a handout, but to struggle a little bit and earn and deserve something, because then you'll know its true value and take that knowledge and turn it into wisdom. Because you can watch a fight and say, okay, yeah, that's a hook low kick. I know what that is. So that's the knowledge. But the wisdom is knowing when and how to apply that hook and that low kick, right? And then with the knowledge and the wisdom will turn into hopefully understanding. Because understanding is a different thing as well. So there's knowledge, wisdom, and then understanding. You can watch, that's an arm bar, but do you know how to perform the arm bar when nobody's, or when they're not trying to let you arm bar them?
Right.
Maybe, then you'll truly understand it.
Yeah.
Sorry, jumping around.
No worries.
But
all right, we have this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on the table here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've been,
this is
lifelong
jiu-jitsu.
martial artist.
Yes, sir.
What does a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt mean to you?
It means having a tool to teach someone the coordination of themselves, to stay in shape, to defend themselves, to protect themselves and or others. And it's a tool for self-development and growth, which is something that's very special, rare, and needed in this world. So it's a token. It's a check mark to say you've dedicated a chunk of your life to understanding that art, and while understanding that art, that journey, you've learned a little bit more about yourself. Mm-hmm. And along that journey, you should have now acquired the knowledge. Now share it and pass it along to help other people grow and learn alongside of you. And that's to whom much has been given, much is required, right? So it's now another step of responsibility to positively impact lives from here on out, which is what it's been happening for many years. But now I just have a little bit more knowledge in order to do so. I've been able to download and upgrade my software to make this world a better place.
Love it. What were your thoughts when I because it was about maybe like 2 hours ago, right? You got promoted.
I thought maybe I would earn a stripe on the brown belt. Sorry, go ahead, sir. What was my thoughts?
What were your thoughts when I announced your black belt?
Unworthy, to be honest. I'm hard on myself, and I just think I'm not to question you at all, but I just think, for what I understand striking at and not every black belt, not every black belt's the same. Like there's black belts and then there's black belts, right? So for me, when I compare my striking knowledge to my jiu-jitsu knowledge, there's a gap. So when I compare it through that lens, I don't feel worthy, but it's also motivating to make sure I stay on the path to acquire more knowledge and understanding to now, again, perpetuate it and share it in the future. So it's a great, and I always feel like I'm motivated and disciplined anyway, but it's just one more layer of motivation and discipline to stay on the path and to become a service, because jiu-jitsu is the ultimate truth of all the arts. It is the ultimate truth. Like, you'll know exactly where you're at every time you roll, like, period. Like, it's the ultimate truth. And more people need to know jiu-jitsu. My kids, they have to train. Like, I'm not always going to be there to protect them. They have to train while they're under my guidance. And hopefully they'll be under my guidance forever until I'm done, until I go see the Lord. But they have to roll, just like they have to look left and look right before they cross the street. There are certain things that they have to do. And this is one of them. Like, you tell your kids to brush their teeth, right? Because it's good for them. Well, Ninja, you got to roll because that's good for you.
Do you see yourself competing in jiu-jitsu?
You know what? That's crossed my mind quite a bit. Yeah. I'd like to make sure I stay healthy so I can, because I have duties and responsibility. Life's not about myself. Yeah. So I got to make sure I can take care of the family. And that's, praising the Lord, take care of my family are my top 2 priorities. But I wouldn't mind, I'd not necessarily compete, but submit somebody. There's competitions.
Because, the Jiu-Jitsu-Con, all these different events.
It's crossed my mind quite a few times.
They have family events. They have, when I say family events, they have other tournaments with kids. You can bring your kids. You can compete. It's Masters Worlds, Jiu-Jitsu-Con with the kids. It's a whole, it can be a whole family affair. And
you see me roll, my skill set. How do you think I would perform in a jiu-jitsu match?
I think you do awesome just because you have that experience in the fight game. You under pressure, under stress, that's your time to shine.
Yeah, yes, sir.
But it's nice you don't have to, get knocked out or anything. It's still different, but it's the same, right? It's different, but it's the same.
Yeah, they've keep the brain cells that I have now, and also my ligaments and tendons. But I'm not opposed to doing a jiu-jitsu match. Again, that's crossed my mind quite a few times over the last couple of years.
Yeah, because they have the fight to win. Was it fight to win? Those events?
Fight to win.
Those that would be a good rule set for you.
Fight to win. There's quite a few shows. There's a show happening this weekend, actually. One of my students, Jason Gillen, is competing in a jiu-jitsu match. It's called Colorado Combat Club, but they do boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu. So they do them all kind of like a one FC.
Yeah.
So Colorado's always been a hub for martial arts. The first 2 UFCs were there, right?
UFCs, yeah.
But yeah, that jiu-jitsu competition has crossed the mind quite a few times.
There was the Sarah Gavon. She came and she has this on her Instagram. A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. What do you think about that?
Keeping it playful, so you're not stuck in the present.
A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter.
Because if you're happy, that means hopefully you're present and you're in the moment and you're not thinking too far ahead or too far in the past. So I'm assuming that's what's meant by that. And like Henry Gracie says, keep it playful, because then that's when you're in basically you're in a flow state.
Right.
Like Mushin, the Japanese say Mushin, to be of no mind, and the Nike, just do it. So if you just do it, then that means that you're present in, like now, being present, right? You have one day at a time. So might as well be all in. Awesome book, by the way.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's been really cool. So I enjoyed reading that a lot.
Tell me about it.
I loved your stories, your personality of it. You talking about how you were, as our competitive spirit, you're on your own journey quite a bit, right? But along that journey, you're now teaching and sharing that and giving it back. So that's what's been the beauty about it. But speaking that you want to make this world a better place, and we always suffer through things, but even with suffering through the MS, you're talking about in the book, you're still on the mats. You're still helping out, right? Like that's the definition of us, to push and to endure and to be all in. So you are literally making this world a better place through martial arts and through the book and sharing the stories. And I love it. And I think it's I don't have a story like that. I have some cool stories, but it made me think like maybe I have some stories to share with the world as well. So
yeah, you do.
I might do that as well. All in part 2, BMT edition.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
But thank you for putting that book together and make it and being, again, a positive light for people and sharing your stories from Brazil and your school in New Mexico, and then coming here and moving to Burbank and with your wife and being very, very family oriented, but still competing and traveling the world and bringing your kids. And I think you're a great example for the world. So thank you, sir. And I'm honored to be a black belt under you. I don't take it lightly. I want to say picky. Well, I guess I would be picky. Like I'm not gonna, roll or share them. I'll share the mats with a lot of people, but to be under your tutelage and lineage is again, it's an honor. But I don't. How should I say this? I could go and roll. I think with my resume anywhere, and there's a lot of great people out there. But aside from your competitive resume, you're just a great human being, and that's one of the most key things. I was talking with my wife about that. It's like, yeah, you've done all these sweet accolades in the jiu-jitsu world and MMA and your students in your schools, but you as a human being and a father and instructor is what impresses me the most. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for
You're
your
awesome.
friendship. Honor is all mine.
Oh, you're awesome.
And let's go. Let's
Yes,
keep
sir.
it going and let's keep pushing.
All in, ninja.
All in, baby.
Ooh.
That's it. Let's
Teach me how to